Marcus Rashford is Aston Villa's newest star.
He says he just wants to play football now.
Rashford! Oh, it's brilliant! It's absolutely sensational! Rashford! Wonderfully worked!
After the departure of John Durant, there were questions about the depth of Aston Villa's attack. But the Claret and Blue have picked up a 27-year-old who at one point was one of the very best players in the Premier League.
Oh, what a goal! Marcus Rashford!
A player who had bested Mbappe on a big Champions League night.
Rashford! Nerves of steel!
Someone that has the ability to take over a game single-handedly. With Aston Villa wanting to remain competitive in all competitions, they know the margins are tiny. They need every advantage they can get, and who better than a man who just a couple of seasons ago scored 17 goals in the Premier League. While some people might doubt Rashford because of his tenure at Manchester United, there are a lot of things about the Englishman that should get Villa fans excited. Realistically, this is a low-risk, high-reward deal. Rashford is on loan, and Villa are only paying 75% of his wages. It can go up to 90%, but that depends on Rashford's performances. They aren't forced to get him permanently. What's great for Villa is that they are getting a Rashford with a chip on his shoulder, a point to prove. Because his issues with Manchester United weren't about talent, but rather with Amorim. At least that's how it's looked in the media so far.
But this Rashford, he has to change.
According to reports, it was a conversation with Amorim at the start of December that began the events that led to Rashford's absence from Manchester United for months. United had just beaten Everton, with Rashford scoring 2 of the goals in a wonderful display. It seemed like United had gotten the new manager boost. But after that game, the Portuguese heard that the forward had been out in Manchester on the Friday night, November 29th, less than 48 hours before Everton's visit to Old Trafford. Well, Ruben Amorim obviously doesn't want his players to be at bars so close to match day, so he confronted the English forward. Rashford assured Amorim that he had been misinformed about a late night. 3 days later, Rashford was left out of the starting 11 for the game against Arsenal. While of course Amorim likes to rotate players, that decision for Rashford went beyond just a sporting decision. Since that moment, Rashford only made 1 start in the Europa League on December 12th. After that, he was left out of 11 of the 12 squad selections. He returned to the bench for the game against Newcastle, but he never saw the pitch. It was a huge statement from Amorim, even though he denied it.
You try to make like something personally. It's not personal. I have nothing against Marcus. I just have to make the same rules for everybody. And that for me, it's so simple.
United were down 2-0 from the 19th minute, but Rashford, he remained in the dugout rather than on the pitch.
It's every day. So if things don't change, I will not change.
Rashford was the player with the best goal-scoring record in the United squad. A player who was well known for his record of charity work off the pitch. A player who on his day looked like a superstar. It's a complicated situation because, well, take Ralf Rangnick as an example. He had the opposite concern of Amorim. He claimed that Rashford trained well, but he wasn't able to replicate that form into matchday. Meanwhile, under Ten Hag, Rashford got 30 goals in all competitions in the 2022-2023 season. But even the Dutchman had complaints about Rashford, this time about his defensive lapses. Now, the good thing for Aston Villa fans is that Unai Emery is a pragmatic, no-nonsense manager. Rashford is either going to end up playing well or ride the bench again.
And the most important thing for me is that I think he'll be playing under a world-class coach. That's the most important thing.
Considering Rashford can't really afford to be on the bench because he needs to shine and show that he's actually good enough in the hopes of potentially getting a permanent move in the summer, I think he's going to buy into Unai Emery's system. Emery is also the type of manager who has clear instructions and roles for all the players, which is something that Rashford needs. Rashford no longer needs the freedom to play or do his thing. He needs detailed instructions on where to be and where to go. He will now be asked to train and play with very good footballers under a coherent coaching system and to play in a defined role. Him on the left, attacking with Rodgers and Watkins through the middle, is a fantastic threat. Rashford can also play through the middle in case Watkins isn't available or if Emery wants to rotate. According to The Athletic, that versatility is one of the biggest reasons the Villa staff wanted him. They think he can be a multifaceted attacker. He played really well against Everton playing on the right-hand side, but the data suggests that he really is at his best on the left wing cutting in. Rashford's best seasons, 2020 and 2023, when he scored 17 Premier League goals in each, came when he received passes in the half spaces close to the left side of the penalty box. Those 2 seasons and the 2021 season when he scored 11 league goals coincided with the consistent availability of Luke Shaw at left back. Luke Shaw is excellent at making overlapping runs, which gave Rashford the license to roam into the spaces where he's the most effective. Because with Shaw making that overlap run, it would create 2v1 scenarios, and then Rashford could decide, does he want to play Shaw or does he want to take on the defender, cut inside, and try and shoot? As we look at the data, Rashford often struggled when Shaw was out for a long period of time. Well, the good thing for the English attacker is that Digne does a lot of the things that Shaw used to do. There's been a ton of moments this season where Digne has stretched the defense by staying high and wide. Him and Rashford could be a lethal duo. In many ways, Marcus Rashford has actually fallen upwards. This isn't 2012 anymore. Aston Villa are significantly better than United. Higher in the table, better manager, better players, Champions League football.
And in terms of his move, he's going to a team that are far better than Manchester United at this moment in time.
Aston Villa are one of the biggest clubs in the country, and Unai Emery one of the very best managers. Another reason that Villa fans should be excited is that Unai Emery specifically requested for Marcus Rashford. The Spaniard thinks the Englishman is one of the world's most dangerous attacking players, and he believes he can recapture Rashford's best form. Now, of course, he wasn't the only one that thought this. Milan, Dortmund, Barcelona, all were interested in Marcus Rashford's services. The good thing is Emery has a reputation for having forwards peaking under his tutelage and working with players who can play out wide and through the inside channel.
They've got a fantastic manager, and Unai Emery does get the best out of players more often than not when you look through his managerial careers.
According to The Athletic, Emery often holds individual meetings with players. For example, with Ollie Watkins, he sat down and showed him clips of what he's doing well and showed him movements of other strikers that have worked under him, like Baka and Cavani. He reminds players how good they are while also telling them how much better they can be. Because again, nobody has doubted Rashford's quality. There is nothing stopping him from recreating these goals for Villa. People argue that Rashford had lost his hunger at United given that he was the highest paid player, constantly criticized, while being in a team that continues to underperform. It's not a surprise that his best season came during a year where United were actually competing in the league and in the Carabao Cup. Now we will see how many of Rashford's issues are internal, as in, has he actually lost the desire and motivation to get better? Has he lost his footballing abilities? Or is he just a product of the negative system that is at United? He doesn't look too happy in this photo, but hopefully a nice trim should get him looking good. Brother looks like he just got out of bed for the photo shoot. It's always hard to judge United players because when you see them leave the club, they almost always do better. Sancho has been doing fine at Chelsea, certainly a lot better than what he was doing at United. Even during his loan stint last year at Dortmund, he had moments of brilliance and even ended up in the Champions League final. Anthony, in his first match at Real Betis, helped set up a goal and won man of the match. McTominay is very likely going to lift a Scudetto at Napoli. So whenever a player leaves Manchester United, there should always be optimism. There is way too much negativity around that club to judge any player or even managers. Look at Ruben Amorim. Guy was dominating world football at Sporting, and now he's being called Ruben Interim. The guy has aged 50 years in months. The club is in such disarray that there was even a theory going around that Rashford being sold is just a part of a bigger plan for Ratcliffe and Ineos to once again cut spending. Some people believe that all of this is because the new ownership wants to increase profits. They want to push Rashford out because the money for him will be pure profit since he's an academy player. Since he's the highest earner at the club, getting rid of him would reset the salary structure. Now, this is just a conspiracy theory that I saw rolling around, but it wouldn't surprise me given some of the stuff that Ineos has done to cut back expenditure. The reality is that Rashford has superstar talent. At times, he's had superstar numbers, but everything about his public existence is overanalyzed and exaggerated across all platforms. At United, he was overplayed and overhyped from a young age. His physical grace, his amazing moments, made United fans think that he was already a superstar. He never had the time to grow, and automatically he was seen as being United's savior. A better club with a better supporting system should be able to get Rashford back on track. There is still plenty of hope here. Villa are a great club, Emery an excellent manager, and Rashford is talented enough to make this work. Of course, it's going to require discipline, hunger, and a degree of personal and professional development on Rashford's end. He should be up to the task. After all, he found a way to deliver goals under multiple different managers at United. Villa's system without the ball doesn't involve high intensity pressing. They actually get really compact and get behind the ball. So hopefully that limits Rashford's weakness of having these defensive lapses when he doesn't have the ball at his feet. If Rashford can integrate the principles that Emery wants to see, and as multiple Villa sources believe he can, then this transfer is well worth the risk. Rashford deserves a chance to find out how good he is, and above all, a chance to be happy 9 years into his career. Now Rashford, he's just one piece of Unai Emery's master plan for Aston Villa. to see how the Spaniard has developed this team from being almost relegated to being in the Champions League knockout rounds, you gotta check out this video right here.